On to the Pitch Fest. Pitch Fest is play, it's practice, it's ponder, it's daydream, but hopefully not all at once. We are going to have 5 companies pitching, all who have been selected from a big pool of applicants who have some promising technology, idea, innovation to change the world. With them, we're going to have a panel of experts in a moment coming out who will drill them with questions. And afterwards, the panel and I will have a discussion about what makes a good pitch and what they look for. You have a really important role in all of this as well. It's voting. We'll have voting instructions coming up after the fest. You'll actually have a lot of the day to vote, and I'll walk through some of that later. But for now, we're going to introduce the entrepreneurs. They get 3 minutes each, followed by 2 minutes of Q&A by our expert panel, and then we'll cue the next pitch. So, you know this isn't easy, right? These people have been rehearsing, some are beginners, some are experienced, but we want them to feel the love, right? So we're going to give them a lot of love and a lot of encouragement, and we will announce the winner at 3:30 at the conclusion of the event in the lobby. So with no further ado, let me welcome our esteemed panel, and they can walk out and take seats here. Juan Barraza, representing the Portland State University Center for Entrepreneurship, Chief Architect of Inventor, the statewide collegiate invention competition and Clean Tech Challenge. Tori Campbell, Prosper Portland, rabble-rousing in all the most important ways in our fair city. Jarvez Hall, making it happen at Warner Pacific College, and all the young social entrepreneurs that he encounters every day. And my business partner, Jen Lynch from Portland Seed Fund. We are out there investing in more women and minority-led companies than I think anyone else in the region at the moment. Welcome, experts. Get comfortable. And with that, I'm ready to call out our first entrepreneur. Let's make sure she's in the slotting position. She is. Please welcome Ashley Henry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Henry, and I am the Chief Collaboration Officer of a 501c6 membership organization called Business for a Better Portland. It's actually an auspicious day for me to be able to present to you this morning because yesterday we celebrated our first birthday, and we, after just 1 year, have over 200 members that have joined our organization. Before I tell you about the successes that we've had in our first year, I'd like to tell you about our beginnings. It was actually the fall of 2015, and there was a group of small businesses, entrepreneurs, mostly in the software industry, who found themselves wondering how they could leverage the political, social, and financial capital that they have as business owners to create a more prosperous Portland. They were busy, of course, they're entrepreneurs, growing jobs and the economy in the Portland region. But they didn't understand why it was that there often seemed to be a disconnect between what business was advocating for in the community and what they shared, what their values were as business owners. So they sought an organization that they could contribute to that would reflect their values and would also understand where they were coming from as busy entrepreneurs. But they couldn't find one. And they did what entrepreneurs do, and they created their own organization. They actually started as an all-volunteer organization in February of 2016. And I did not know them at the time, but as soon as they launched, quite frankly, their inboxes blew up. They found that there was such an appetite in the Portland community for an organization that believes and that showed that you can believe that it's okay to be a business person and a community advocate. In fact, it's actually very important for the well-being of your company. With talent, recruitment, and retention being the #1 issue that companies face, we know that the things that recruit talent are walkable cities, healthy communities, the things that businesses can lean into and advocate for. So they started with something called a call to action, a monthly call to action. And they did something very simple. They said, we're not the experts here, but we know who the community experts are. Let's hear from them. Let's listen to our community. And so they did a call to action, and they found that there was a remarkable response to that. Within 6 months, they incorporated as a 501c6 membership organization, and we had our very first meeting with Congressman Earl Blumenauer on February 8th, 2017. He told us about the historic civic-business partnership that has created the Portland that we love so much. And we are now building our civic education muscles and learning from our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Well, that goes fast.
Ashley, can you tell us what superpowers business owners bring to this space and why advocacy is something that you should consider?
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, that's interesting that you should ask that question, because when we first incorporated as a membership organization, I went to meet with one of our members. She has a retail store on Northeast Alberta. And I asked her, why did you want to join the organization? And she said, when I started my company, I didn't realize that I had been handed the keys to a secret kingdom that I didn't even know existed. And I said, what do you mean? And she says, now that I own a business, everyone seems to care what I think. And so we found that businesses actually have the ability to work together to advocate on behalf of not only their businesses and their bottom line, but the triple bottom line, the social and environmental aspects of our community that really create and make a difference for the city.
Ashley, what is at the top of the organization's agenda for this year, for 2018?
You wouldn't be surprised that the two top concerns of the city of Portland are issues of housing and homelessness and transportation. And so we have been working diligently on those topics bringing our members together, giving them opportunities to lend their time and their voices to advocating on those issues, finding solutions to housing and homelessness problems, especially the upstream issues. It's very important to be philanthropic and to contribute to things like shelters, but it's even more important to utilize your political capital to make sure that people don't become homeless in the first place, and that's what our members are really about.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Ashley, for getting us started. You'll notice that I'm going to be a little rough, tough love rough on people to stay on time, and she did a great job. Now let's bring it together for Eber Michaels, the founder of Eber Health.
In the United States, 28 million Americans are still having accessing their basic healthcare needs. Among the people most impacted are the elderly, who are commonly forgotten about, and the immigrant who is constantly living in fear. Hello, my name is Heber Miguel, and I am the founder of Eber Health. At Eber Health, we are leveraging technology to bring a wellness provider to your doorstep. Meet Ron Scott. Ron is an 84-year-old American war veteran living in Oregon. Ron lives alone since his wife recently passed away. Every other month, Ron has to go to the Portland VA to get his wellness checked. Ron relies on Tram and Lyft services for his transportation. But due to the lack of transportation, Ron often misses his appointments. For Ron and everyone else like Ron, we've developed a platform that connects him with his local wellness provider, acupuncturist, massage therapist, nutritionist, and even culinary specialist. Last year, we ran a small-scale pilot here in Portland, Oregon, with 7 wellness providers. We were able to serve 80 in-home visits. This year, we plan to double down with 16 wellness providers and expand our services to other parts in Portland, Oregon. This will give us the ability to do 480 in-home visits per month. In addition, we're also in the process of getting our Medicaid credentials to better serve people like Ron. To your right, you have Maria Sanchez. Maria works off a field here in Hillsboro, Oregon. Maria is a very hard worker, but she has a hard time getting by due to her limited English. Maria does not seek healthcare services. She has no access to them, since she is one of 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country. Maria never goes to the doctor. She only goes to the doctor when it's a severe emergency and really needs to go. Maria doesn't know, but she's at risk of diabetes and is not expected to live past 50 years old. Ebrill Health is providing a convenient way for both Ron and Maria to get the healthcare services when they need at their home. You see, Ron is more than just a neighbor. He is my friend. And Maria is more than just another undocumented immigrant. She is my mother. My messages to all the Rons in the building: you are not forgotten. My messages to all the Marias in the building: we are here for you. Thank you very much.
Eber, a very compelling story, very relevant for this day and age. How do you manage growth? How do you let people like Ron and Maria know about your service and get in contact utilizing it?
That's a great question. So for people like Ron and for Maria, we've been connecting with local community organizations such as Virginia Garcia to better tap into this market. In addition, my uncle, he started a company about 20 years ago that would go door to door and sell water filtration systems for Hispanics. So right off the bat, we're leveraging his connections to get back to the homes with these types of services.
Can you tell us what sort of medical providers come serve people like Maria and Ron?
Sure. So the medical providers, they're more on the wellness realm, so focusing more on the preventative services, and they are massage therapists, naturopathic doctors, nurse practitioners, personal trainers at many times, culinary specialists, and nutritionists.
We could do one teeny short one.
Who pays for this right now?
Right now, everything's done through direct payment, so everything's the prices are set by our providers, and we just get a percentage just for making the connection. Thank you.
Now let's welcome to the stage Berlin Kelly and her company Proud Pour.
Can I take this microphone and just kind of walk around? Okay, awesome. So, okay. Hi. How many of you have had a drink in the last week? Okay, keep your hands up. Please keep your hands up. How many of you care deeply about the planet? Keep your hands up. Or just, yeah, keep your hands up. And how many of you have had time in the past week to really, truly help the planet? Okay, yeah. I felt the exact same way. That's why I launched Proud Pour. Do you guys know how much Portland Metro spends on wine per night? Any guesses? Okay, I'm just going to cut through the chase. $2.3 million is spent on wine per night in Portland Metro. And did you know that we've lost 95% of our oyster reefs, which is essentially our coral reefs in America, and that just one oyster cleans 30 gallons of water per day? I didn't know this either when I was working my Wall Street job in New York, yet I was spending all this time and money drinking. Hence, our California Sauvignon Blanc that restores 100 oysters per bottle. In the last 4 years, we've been able to restore 7.5 million oysters across America, which are cleaning 220 million gallons of water per day. And last year, we launched our Pinot Noir for bees, and every bottle of that plants 875 wildflowers. And so far, we've been able to plant 8 million wildflowers across America at local farms. But this isn't even 1% of 1% of 1% of the work that needs to be done. New York used to have trillions of oysters, and now we have virtually none. Bee populations have decreased 40% across a lot in the last 4 years, and and there's no end to the work we can do. So Proud Pour, I've already told you about our social impact, which isn't small, by the way. A lot of people have these social impact-based companies. They're super popular, and they give a percentage of their profits, maybe 20%. We give a percentage of our sales, which is off the top, and that usually ends up whatever it costs to restore 100 oysters and plant the wildflowers we need to plant to save the bees and save the ocean. It usually ends up around 10 to 15% of our sales. I don't know if you guys know much about finance, but this is a totally different model. It's off the top, not a percentage of our profits after we get paid, which means sometimes we don't get paid. We also in Proud Pour believe we have our good business model. We believe you could be a good business by doing one of three things. You could do a social impact, you can have a good product, or you can be an ethical company. Our product is also really wonderful. It's vegan, organically grown, and unlike 95% of the wines out there, we're not using animal products, sweeteners, concentrates. We also have live certification, organic certification, vegan, salmon safe, and we also are carbon neutral, which means that we offset all of our carbon emissions from shipping. Okay, all right.
So can you talk a little bit more about these oysters? So how does this actually happen? So I buy a bottle, and then oysters get, replaced in the ocean. What happens in between?
Totally. So this is the great thing. Keep eating oysters. All the oysters you eat are farmed. We collect those farmed oysters, which cleans the ocean. We collect those farmed oyster shells from restaurants and use that as a foundation to rebuild the reef. So we put them in a tank with baby oysters that settle on the shells. And then back into the ocean.
No, go ahead.
So I guess my question is, obviously, I would grab the bottle because of the mission. It's very compelling, but I want to keep pouring it because of the flavor profile. How are you able to move this product and kind of break into markets that might be saturated with wine?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard, but we've done it. People really like it because the wine is excellent. Our sales in 2017 were $430,000. We have distribution in 14 states. We're in 700 accounts that have a 79% reorder rate. So we're already doing it, and we're still alive after 4 years. So people love the wine, they love the mission, so.
I'm not really a big drinker, but you got me on saving the oysters, because I definitely need some more of those. So you already have me down, put me down for a case. So you had 400,000 in sales. What is it going to take to get to 1 million in sales, 10 million in sales, 100 million in sales? So you can help everybody else, but also so you can get paid too. We don't want you not getting paid off the top.
Yeah, it's tough. The wine industry is extremely competitive. We're one of the few companies without outside investment, entirely self-funded and bootstrapped. We need investors. That's the thing. We need investors so we can do that 5 to 10 years of promotion and growth. That's really where it's going to come from.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, let's welcome to the stage Nicole Cousino with Nature Commode.
Hello, my name is Nicole Cousino. I'm founder of Nature Commode, a nutrient cycling company. Nature Commode loves cities with their high concentration of humans. Why? Because humans are very efficient fertilizer makers, converting food and beverage into nutrient-rich resources. Our company innovates strategies to capture and utilize these resources closest to the site of generation in order that they can benefit urban agriculture and the environment. Our approach is to incorporate the entire nutrient value chain. So for phase 1, we're using toilets as tools for change. We design, fabricate, and deploy unique, all-natural, chemical-free porta potties to events in order to expose the greatest number of people to ecological sanitation. We intentionally use design and information graphics to provide the user with a positive experience and to transform public attitudes regarding nutrient cycling. To date, we've reached over 150,000 people. For phase 2, you're probably familiar with farm to table. We're the other half of the story, fork to field. We're on the path to treat all that we collect so those nutrients can go to benefit new plant growth. We're focused on containerized treatment solutions that could be installed in an existing warehouse in any city. 90% of what we capture at events is urine. High in nitrogen, it's equivalent in impact to many synthetic fertilizers. The solids can be used as a feedstock in vermicomposting, creating a higher value soil amendment. For phase 3, we can use the urine fertilizer in an in-house vertical farm operation, offsetting the high input cost of nutrients. The produce we grow could be sold to a food vendor serving at one of our events, therefore helping to close the nutrient circle. Capturing human resources upstream also helps protect our watersheds. Nitrogen and phosphorus can be directed towards smart land application rather than potentially negatively impact our waterways. Treatment can neutralize the inevitable pharmaceuticals contained in our excrement that are otherwise not filtered in a wastewater treatment plant's discharge. Porta potties are primarily a local operation, but Nature Commode solutions are designed for replication in other urban areas, domestically and internationally. The $2 billion a year U.S. portable sanitation industry is ripe for change. Demand for locally grown food is on the rise. We need a paradigm shift from a linear waste-based system to a holistic value-based system with an emphasis on nutrient cycling, and Nature Commode is well-positioned to kickstart this revolution. We just installed services down at the Portland Night Market, and we invite all of you to stop on by and give Nature Commode a go. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nicole. When you have the fork to table, was it fork to farm bumper sticker, give me one. I'm putting one on my car. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how big of impact this can be ecologically, and how the porta potties that are traditionally out there are really causing a lot of harm to our communities?
Well, it's not, so we're the only in the United States right now that's doing a chemical-free approach. Instead of using chemicals, our toilets use locally sourced sawdust. So to transform the overall industry presents a lot of challenges. So it's really hard to say what the scale of that is, but seeing that there's a lot of potential starting small and being able to grow to other cities to help transform what's currently being used, to say that those chemicals that are manufactured in a factory, there's questions as to what is in those blue chemicals, the impact that they're possibly having downstream, even after they go through a wastewater treatment plant with formaldehydes and so forth. I can't answer that exactly, but just to know that there is a different impact that has. And they also use drinking water within their units versus we're just using locally sourced sawdust. So,
how do you guys get over, I see that you have vertical farming part of your cycle, right? How do you guys plan to get over the yuck factor? Is going to be some disclosures where the fertilizer is coming from, and how you address that with the public in general?
Yes, and I think there is actually a company down in San Diego that's been taking biosolids from a wastewater treatment plant. So their sludge, being very upfront about the fact that they are using human poop as a basis for their particular fertilizer, and they're finding a great deal of receptivity in San Diego because they're highlighting the fact it's local. This is locally generated. You all produced it, why not use it again? And I think really starting to see a difference in the mindset. So using the toilets at events as an opportunity to engage the public and start to better understand what are some ways that we can frame the messaging so that we have that embrace. There is no way. Right now, the sludge from our wastewater treatment plants gets trucked to the eastern part of the state, and that's usually the case. Just make it go away, and we're looking at instead incorporating. Thank you. All right, thank you.
I'll be locally sourced now, but goes to Eastern Road.
Let's welcome to the stage our fifth and final pitcher today, Bill Graup with Aurora CTE. Bill.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Graup, and I am the founder of Aurora CTE, Career Technical Education. I'm also the mayor of Aurora, as well as the North Marion School Board member. Right. We are a 501c3 nonprofit created to educate high school students towards a career in aviation. Hands-on education, also called CTE, is a proven model to boost graduation rates for students. Oregon has focused now on increasing our low graduation rates, currently at about 75%. Studies have shown as much as a 9% increase in grad rates when CTE-style education is used. Our target students are those who need additional assistance in reaching this graduation goal. Oregon schools have been underfunded for many years. I hope that's not debated. Our purpose is to bring together business resources to add to the high school education programs. Many businesses want to contribute to education, but they just don't know how. Our program merges these resources with the employment needs of the businesses in the region. We are creating a makerspace where students will build a real airplane, as pictured on the slide there. They will also have opportunity to learn the principles of flight. Located at the Aurora State Airport, students will have space next to the runway surrounded by aviation businesses. Through collaboration with Oregon Future Business Leaders of America, we are also adding business curriculum for kids to learn about project management, business principles, marketing, and sales. This provides community service credits to those students as well. Our final goal is to create a template business model for other rural regions to start a CTE education program. Our students will help other regions learn how to analyze regional employment trends in their area and bring business resources together for the benefits of their regions. Businesses want to help educate local kids and need a team or a group to coordinate the resources. This is the goal of our template business model. Currently, Aurora CTE has secured land and raised $40,000 on our way to a capital investment of $150,000 for building and equipment. Our first plane kit will cost $80,000, and its sale, when completed, will fund the next year's program. Thus, this is a perpetual business model. Once we've launched the program, it will self-fund year after year. We hope to break ground this summer, and with the first cohort in the winter. And since I have a couple extra seconds, I want to give a shout out to all of our FBLA students in the audience. I know you're out there somewhere. On the side, I run the Oregon FBLA program as well. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Can you tell us, are there other ways in which you guys are exploring expanding this program beyond just kind of the aeronautics and working with airplanes with the young people?
In Aurora, there's two really great industries, or what we call industry clusters. Aviation is one of them because we just happen to be lucky enough to have the third busiest airport in the state of Oregon. But historic restoration and history of Oregon is a big deal for the city of Aurora. We're one of the first cities in the state of Oregon. So we have several artists or craftsmen who do like old windows and old historic home restoration. And this is a skill that is gonna get lost, and so we want to expand to get kids into woodworking of historic nature, where you learn the special skills of what it is to restore a historic door and a historic window and maintain that historic nature.
Thank you.
Well, I am a little disappointed that you would let me into the program. I'm going to disregard that piece, but planes is it's a really cool thing, and kids will definitely be, is there a way that you can do some of these type of programs and things that might not be as popular as aeronautics and airplanes?
Well, we begin with aeronautics because, one, there's an incredible amount of job opportunities coming. Boeing has estimated over 200,000 jobs in the next coming years as people retire, and it's an industry that really needs the jobs. So it's easy to use aviation to get started. But as we get further down the road and we go into other regions, looking at those things, there are some less popular things, but mostly about like agricultural food preparation and things like that. Whatever the region has, I think will be popular in that region, and that's what we want to target to really keep kids interested. It may not be popular, for instance, agricultural food prep might not be popular here in Portland, but it's very popular somewhere else. So, but those kind of things we kind of target in to really attract the kids. So as far as unpopular things, I'm not sure. Great. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for your time.
How about one more round of applause for all those pitchers? They did an amazing job. Fantastic. So you may want to take out your notebook and make just a quick notation or two, especially as we turn back to the panel and learn a little bit about what's going through their heads when they hear pitches. All of these folks have heard thousands of pitches, met millions of entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you have some strong feelings about how it all happens. So I'd like each one of you to answer my first question, and then we can go more potluck as we go. The first one for everybody is, what do you think an early stage social entrepreneur needs to know? Let's start with Juan and come on in.
They need to know how they're going to make money, even how they're going to stay sustainable. I think one of the mistakes that I hear a lot for the concepts, they are like a pure non-profit play. They don't think long-term how they're going to create revenue, either through grants or services they can provide. And they can still be non-profit, but they need to figure out how to make their program sustainable over the years beyond the initial grant that comes from the CD or a foundation. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that they need to think about.
Let's go down the line.
Okay, so I would say because the social impact is such it comes oftentimes from a place of empathy and compassion and wanting to create change in the human experience. I think one of the challenging pieces to that is too often we can be married to the initial thought or idea that got us there, and we're not able to be nimble to make the necessary pivots over time as that idea gets proved out and tested to become a really strong and viable business model. Yeah. So I would just encourage at early on, it is important that you own it, it's yours, stay on mission, but at the same time, be flexible along the way, that you will have to allow it to evolve and transform into what it needs to be to really survive.
No, that's great. Jarvez, what can we add to that?
Well, saying piggybacking off that, the first is to really remember that not everybody thinks like you think or has the same mindset that you think. You think it's very important to save whatever. The next person doesn't think that. And it's very important that your business is able to capture the people who could care less about whatever social mission you're trying to address, but they can still give some money for whatever product and service that you're trying to supply. And then the other piece is always make sure you understand who your customers are. So it's great to have that social impact, but know who's the one who's giving you money and how you can get more of their money as a part of your process.
Thank you. Jen?
We speak with a lot of mission-driven businesses now, as in our professional life, and what's been interesting over the last 5 years have been the thoughtfulness that entrepreneurs are putting into their corporate structure as they launch their businesses. So, there are options now that maybe weren't available. I think of B Corp, or, I could sort of set out and say I'm going to be triple bottom line from the beginning, or I could just choose to incorporate, like Bill did, as a 501c3. So he is a nonprofit, but he's very much revenue driven, and and understands this, to Juan's point, that this is about sales and expenditures and making a profit at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, excellent. As a pool, we're not going to call out any one company. We saw 5 good pitches today. Did you think, is there any overall coaching or trending that you noticed, or things that they were doing well today as a group?
I will start and say I was impressed with the diversity of the business models that we saw, back to the point about, how does one do a sustainable business? We had a 501c6, a modern chamber of commerce, and we had, Proud Poor, which is sort of taking the Tom's one-for-one model to the next level, and then, businesses that exist solely to benefit the environment, like Nature Commode. I think this is going to be a hard choice for all of you because they were so very diverse.
I think the thing that stands out to me is, again, similar. I agree that very diverse. The challenge oftentimes with the problems that they're solving for is because they're so entrenched as things that we just assume can never be changed. It's hard for us to see this beyond just being a kind of a novelty, or just a cute kind of 50, like, that's cute. Now my way I relieve myself can actually have impact in this world. And I think the challenge is recognizing that there is legitimate opportunities for this to be in play and have real world application. And so I think that's something that I always consider in this work.
We keep getting better at that, right? Yeah.
And just to piggyback off that, I think it's very interesting to see that all of these entities are scalable. I could see there being a better business filling the city here. I could see there being, these CTE programs in multiple cities. I could see nature commodes at the next Woodstock. You could see all of these entities in a larger space, which I thought was really refreshing and really, really exciting, and it's going to make your jobs very tough.
The storytelling. Each one of these ventures, they need to hone in the storytelling. What is the one thing that makes the public look around and say, yes, we're going to save oysters, or we're going to save the environment doing X? If they're able to touch that fiber that makes people compassionate and compelling enough to buy their product or services, that's what they need to focus on. And they did very good job today.
Thank you. Those are great comments. Now let's go to the dark side of the pitches. Pet peeves. Does anyone have a pet peeve that they're willing to share? Every time they see a pitch, they roll their eyes when the pitcher says or does X.
So I'm not, so rolling, this is the wrong word, but something that does frustrate me are businesses that spend a lot of time talking about the idea and not a lot of time talking about the business. Because all the way back to Juan's point at the beginning, if you're not generating revenue and in a sustainable way, or attracting customers. I don't know, somebody asked, how do you find people? How do you break into such a crowded market? You're not going to be around long enough to execute on your amazing vision. So I always, nobody starts a company, without an incredibly passionate vision for the world that they want to see, or the product that they want to deliver, or the delight that they want out of their customers. But if you don't find a way to do it in a way that keeps you in business the next morning, then nobody's going to get to enjoy that. So,
great point.
Talk about your traction, right? We all want to hear the hockey stick. You go from 0 to billions in 3 months. But talk about your journey. How are you going to get there, right? What is your traction right now? What have you achieved right now? In 2 seconds, this is what we did, and this is what we're going to do next. Sometimes doesn't need to be a number involved. It's just that you have a very clear milestones that you will achieve in the next 3 to 6 months.
So you're saying the traction might be customers or an organizational milestone, but you want to know what's coming next.
Absolutely. How are you going to win, right? So, sometimes it's not just about attracting thousands of customers. It's we're building a better product. We're getting our certification online. We're getting education in front of people. That's our next milestone. So,
Jarvez.
My pet peeve, more than anything else, especially when it comes to social entrepreneurship, is people that focus on the social part only. And it's the thing that feels good. It's the thing that's nice. It's the motivation for people to even start their entity, which is great. But at the end of the day, if you're not making enough money to sustain it, it's not going to be around to help anybody. And I always tell people in the word social entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurship is bigger. There's a reason for that, because you have to be able to find creative ways to make things happen, make it sustainable. And the other one is think big. How do you scale this thing? Hey, if you got 100,000 in sales, how do we get 1 million? How do we get 10 million? Let's go change the world if we're going to do it. Let's go all the way.
Tori, pet peeve to bring us on home?
Well, I think they've already expressed many of the common challenges you see in this space. I would say not talking enough in a matter of 3 minutes, right? How much can you talk about everything about your business model? But I think not also highlighting the role in which the team that you have around you is playing in this work. Because clearly you come to this with a certain lens and perspective, but I feel like the complexity of this, because we're talking about social entrepreneurship and impact, it requires that you bring and build a collaborative team that actually strengthens your weaknesses. So I think it's important for you to say, this is where my lane is, this is where I kill it, and I've built a staff or a team around me, or I'm thinking about building a team around me. And I think that that's incredibly important to highlight.
I'm going to add
Last
another
comment.
one too about, when we think about that, the team, the other sort of ecosystem complaint I have about most new businesses is their willful blindness about competition in the marketplace. So again, no one starts a business without having like a passionate vision, but don't put up blinders that such that you can't recognize the companies that are already out there doing what you want to do, and maybe they're not doing exactly the same thing as you, but they're out there. To put your mindset, your mindset in that of a customer. You're asking your customer to maybe pay more or take a product that's not, not quite on par because it furthers the mission. You have to come up with a way to overcome that objection. And, and the feel-goodness of what you are doing is oftentimes not going to be enough to overcome those customer objections. And I go to Tesla, who decided that they were going to get people to start driving cars that had fewer carbon emissions because they would be better cars, and they'd be more fun to drive, and they'd be cooler, and they would be more technologically advanced. And then off to the side, they also are saving the planet.
Yeah. Okay. We are at time, my friends. Thank you to each of you for those super insightful comments. I feel like I've seen 1,000 billion pitches, but I learned something every day from those who also have. So thank you so much. Let's give it up for our panel.